Hi everyone. Today's video is a collaborative effort between myself, a fourth grade teacher and a leopard gecko enthusiast, and Elizabeth Freer, who is one of the super moderators at geckosunlimited.com. What I'd like to do today is to show you or to give you a care guide for raising a leopard gecko. The gecko you see in front of you is my Cleo. She is my class pet in my fourth grade class. She was born in April of 12. And it is now December of 12. She is 8 months old and weighs about 52 grams. So just fed her some mealworms. Today's mealworm day, so she is chowing down. So you'll get to watch her eat while I talk. Okay, so what do you need to raise a leopard gecko? Well, the first thing is an enclosure. A lot of places recommend a 10-gallon tank. I think that you should go with at least a 20-gallon long tank, and here's why. In a 20-gallon long tank, it's much easier to obtain the proper temperature gradient that you're going to need, and it gives the leopard gecko plenty of space to move around. So anyway, make sure that you provide at least 30 by 12 of floor space. That would be my recommendation. You will never have to upgrade from that as they get older. If you start out with a smaller enclosure, once your leopard gecko becomes an adult, you're going to want to give them more space. So anyway, when I got my leopard gecko, I just decided to go with 20-gallon long, and that's what she'll stay in her whole life, and she should be comfortable. Okay, as far as substrate goes, I would not recommend any type of loose substrate. Make sure that you use some type of solid substrate, such as tile, which is what you see here. I use porcelain tile. Slate tile conducts heat a little bit better, but slate tile requires a food grade sealer to prevent it from absorbing urate. So I went with the porcelain tile just because I did not have to do that step. And it's basically, I bought it, it cost about $8 for the substrate, and I put it in and it's good to go. I never have to worry about changing it out. It's easy to clean. I don't have to worry about impaction, all of those things. Please do not use sand. Reptile carpet is an option. However, sometimes leopard geckos will get their teeth or their toes stuck in the loops in the reptile carpet, and it can also harbor bacteria from urate. So if you're looking for something that's pretty much maintenance free, tile would be the way to go. Okay, now for your leopard gecko, you're going to also need at least 3 hides in your enclosure. One on the cool side, and this is the cool side of my enclosure. One on the warm side, and a humid hide, which this is my humid hide. And in the humid hide, I just have paper towel that has been wet down, and it stays nice and moist and creates that humid. Make sure that you put the humid hide on the warm side of the enclosure or close to the warm side of the enclosure, so because that heat is what generates the humidity that the geckos need for hydration and proper shedding. So make sure you do that. Now, the background that you see here, that's optional. You don't have to have a background. I chose to buy this background just simply because it's climbable, and it gives my leopard gecko another dimension. She can climb up instead of just walking around on the floor of the tank all the time. So she climbs all around that when she's chasing crickets and those types of things. Okay, so we've covered tank, we've covered hides. Make sure you have 3 hides, and we've covered substrate. There is a million different varieties of feeding dishes, so just choose what's best for you. Also make sure that you provide a water dish for your gecko. The water dish should be placed on the cool side. The feeding dish, it doesn't really matter. I keep the feeding dish over towards the cool side simply because my mealworms don't cook that way when I put mealworms in it. So they live a little bit longer. They stay a little bit warm, but they don't get too hot. So anyway, that's what I do. Tank decoration is optional, obviously. You're also going to, now let's talk about heating for a second. You're going to, leopard geckos love belly heat, so you're going to need to provide belly heat for them. And the way to do that is by using an under tank heater. Now, the under tank heater that you decide on should cover about 1/3 of the floor space of your enclosure. So My tank is 30 inches long, so I would want my I would want my under tank heater to be approximately 10 inches, cover about 10 inches of the tank. So on the left hand side here, the under tank heater is 11 by 11 is the under tank heater that I'm using, and you want the ground temperatures to be between 88 degrees and 93 degrees. So I use a thermostat to control that, and I also use a heat gun. This is a heat gun that I purchased, and I use it to monitor the ground temperatures to make sure they stay between 88 and 93 degrees. I set my thermometer at 90 degrees, and that way it gets a couple degrees warmer and a couple degrees cooler before it kicks on and off. So it stays between about 88 and 92 degrees, which is about perfect. So, okay. Also, you're going to want to have a heat emitter over the top, an air heater. So I have a dome here with a ceramic heat emitter inside. And you want the ambient air temperature on the warm side to be approximately 85 degrees. So I have that set at 85 degrees, and it keeps the air temperature in there on the warm side about 85 degrees. Now over here on the cool side, it stays much cooler. In my enclosure, it typically stays between 72 and 74 degrees. You're going to want that to be no warmer than 77 degrees on the cool side. Okay, so ambient air temperature is important. Belly temperature is important, so the ground temperature is important. So make sure that you're providing that. Geckos use that belly heat to help them digest the food that they eat. So it's pretty important that you provide that for them. Okay, so let's see. I think I've covered just about everything. If you have any questions, in the description, you will see a link to Elizabeth Freer's care sheet on geckosunlimited.com. That's a good resource for you, and you can check it out. Now, as far as feeding geckos, I have Cleo on kind of an interesting schedule right now because she is a little bit overweight. So I'm only feeding once every 3 days. I feed a combination of crickets and mealworms and dubia roaches. So you want to provide at least 3 different types of feeders for your leopard gecko so that they get as many vitamins and minerals as they possibly can. Each one provides something a little bit different. So make sure that you're providing at least 3 different feeders for them. There are other feeders that are available. You can check those out on Elizabeth's care sheet. Also, you're going to want to provide calcium and calcium supplements for your gecko. If you see the blue cap in the enclosure in the back there, I think you can see it in the video, that has pure calcium carbonate in it. This is the calcium carbonate that I use. It's just pure 100% calcium carbonate powder. It does not have D3 in it, and you never want to leave calcium with D3 in your enclosure, as too much D3 is as bad as not enough for your leopard gecko. When I dust, I'm on a kind of a weird schedule right now, so I call it kind of a 12-day schedule. Cleo gets fed every 3 days, so 2 of the 4 feedings in the 12-day cycle, I use Mineral Indoor formula. It's provides the vitamins and minerals that she needs. And then the thing about minerals, it does not have vitamin A in it. So 1 of the 4 feedings, I use Reptivite without D3 to give her the rest of the supplements that she needs. And then one of the 4 feedings, I do not dust at all. So every 12 days, she gets 2 mineral dustings, 1 Reptivite dusting, and 1 without dusting. So anyway, that's how I supplement. There's a lot of varying opinions on how to supplement. The best advice that I can give you is to go to geckosunlimited.com and read Elizabeth's care sheet. Talk to a couple of the moderators on there, and ask if you have questions. It's important that you're checking your supplements to make sure that they have the proper vitamins and minerals that your gecko is going to need. There's so many varying opinions on this that you just kind of have to read as much information as you can and come up with your own system, which is kind of what I've done. Now, geckos do not need overhead lighting. The tank light that you see in front of you, I only have that on when I'm shooting a video, or if my students want to watch Cleo feed, which is what you've been doing during this video. So anyway, overhead tank lighting is not an absolute necessity. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. A link to Elizabeth's care sheet will be in the description. And thanks for watching. Have a good day.